Hi everyone, this is the start of the reflecting sweater and I'm going to show you how to work Judy's magic cast on. I've got my main colour here. As you can see, I'm holding my yarn as I would do for a long tail cast on. So I've got the yarn in my hand here like that, with finger and thumb separating it. This end is attached to the ball and the other end is the tail end of yarn. In my right hand I've got two sets of cable needles with cables long enough to go around the yoke of the sweater, and the needle size is gauge needle. Okay, so first thing to mention is some people like to start this cast on with a slip knot onto the first needle here. I choose not to because I find slip knots a little bit bulky. But you can start with a slip knot if you want to. If you want to use the slingshot method as I do, you just slip your top needle around that loop of yarn like that, and that's your first stitch cast on. From there, you establish the pattern of Judy's magic cast on, which is that your yarn wraps around the opposite needle and down through the middle. I'll show you what that looks like. So I've cast on this stitch to my top needle, so now I need to cast on a stitch to my bottom needle. So this top yarn is coming around the bottom needle and down through the middle of those needles. So now I've got two stitches cast on, or one stitch to each needle. I'm casting onto the top needle, so the bottom yarn comes up around the top needle. You'll find that you need to catch the yarn to anchor it with your thumb to help it get through the middle of those stitches, especially as you have more stitches cast on. I'm casting onto the bottom needle again, so the top yarn wraps around the bottom of that needle. I catch it with my thumb, it comes through the middle. So now I've got two stitches cast onto each needle, or 4 stitches in total. And you just carry on in exactly the same way until you've cast on all the stitches you need. So I tend to count the top and the bottom needle at the same number, so that's 3 and 3. So I've cast on 3 stitches to each needle, 4 and 4, 5 and 5. Okay, that is Judy's magic cast on. Another thing to mention in the pattern is I do recommend, if you're casting on a lot of stitches, is to just use a marker to help you keep track and you don't have to count every single stitch individually. I think in the pattern I recommend placing a marker maybe once every 50 stitches when you have 50 stitches on each needle. But just to show you what that would look like, so I've done 5 stitches on each needle. I'm going to place my marker on the bottom needle, so put your markers on the bottom needle. Then I'm going to carry on top needle first and bottom needle. Just that secures the marker, and I know that I've got 5 stitches here, and you don't have to keep counting them over and over again. Okay, so that is Judy's magic cast on. The last thing to mention is once you have cast on all the stitches that you need, I do recommend wrapping those tails around each other. That just helps to secure those final stitches and stop them from slipping off the needles. You're then going to turn your work so that you're holding the cast on stitches in your left hand. You're going to be starting off working the stitches on that top needle. So you'll get the needle from the other end of your cable and you'll start working into that stitch first. You may find it helpful to move this needle out the way, pull it out of the stitches like that, so that you can more easily then work the stitches on the top needle. Okay, I hope that helps.